Welcome to Learn It, a series of tutorials just for digital scrapbookers by Studio Wendy from Scrapbook Graphics. Today we're going to look at the button maker actions to see how easy it can be to transform any shape in paper into a button. Let's get started by loading our actions. The button maker comes with an action file, .atn, a style file, the .asl, and a pattern file, the .pat. This denim pattern file is actually a standard Photoshop pattern. It may already be installed in Photoshop or Photoshop Elements, but if it's not, this pattern file is a standard pattern file provided with Photoshop and Elements, but if you don't have it installed, I provided it for you. To install actions, styles, and patterns in Photoshop, the easiest way is simply to select all three and double-click on them. That will launch Photoshop and install them all in the proper space. Here we are in Photoshop. Let's take a peek at our actions. We can either go up to Windows, Actions, or simply click on the Actions button, the triangle here, over on your panel. Clicking on that will show you that the button maker has been installed, and it comes with these 6 different action files. If you can't read them, feel free to just grab this and stretch it over a little bit so you can see the entire name. We can also check out our styles. Click here on the Styles panel. You can also find the Styles button right here, or Window, Styles. If you scroll down in the Styles palette, you'll see here that we have the 2 styles that have been added to our Styles palette. To make sure our patterns have been added, you can click on Edit, Preset Manager, click on the drop-down menu, and here you can see all your different presets, including your styles and your patterns. You scroll down here to the bottom, we can see that this denim style has been added here. You can also change the thumbnails here to read them and see them a little bit easier with this contextual menu. You can click on Small List, Just Thumbnails. I prefer to look at either the small or large list, so I get the name and the thumbnail. So now that we know all of our files have been loaded, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to take a look at the actions here, and the first one is a plain button. To make a plain button, all I need to do is open up a paper, which I've done here. This is from Impressions of Comfort at Home. This paper is by Flurgs. So I've opened up my paper, and I just need to get my selection tool, my Marquee Tool. If I click and hold down, I can get a circular shape or a rectangular shape, or I can get a single row or single column. I'm going to select the elliptical tool, and I'm going to click somewhere here in the middle and just draw a circle on this paper. That's the portion of the paper that's going to be turned into our button. And I'm going to come over here and click on Button Maker, Plain, and press Play. That's the triangle icon at the bottom of the palette. I'm going to get a little message here that says, open any paper of your choice, make a selection, press Continue. PSE users can sometimes get errors with the styles and the patterns. You may have to load them and actually go in and select them and click on them before you run the action. Then press Continue. The action will zip along here, and in no time at all, we have a button. If you come over here to your Layers palette, you'll see that the button is on its own layer and the shadow is on its own layer. So if you prefer to have your shadows at a different angle or position or further or closer away from the page, you can manually move that. You can also lock down the transparency and change the color by pressing Option Delete or Command Delete. So there you go. There is a plain button. Now if we would like to make a button that has a texture to it, we can do that as well. Let me go back to my history, come back to my original paper, and I'm going to select the Marquee step here so that my selection has been made. This second action, the button maker textured, does the same exact thing, except it adds a slight denim texture to it. Let's go ahead and press play. We'll see a little message again telling us what version of the action it is. Press continue. And in a few seconds, here we are with our button. If you zoom in, you'll see it's added just a little bit of texture or pattern right on top of that paper. Let's go back out. The next option is our plain and textured shapes. I'm going to go ahead and select the textured shape, and I'm going to go back to my original paper here. For this option, instead of using my Marquee tool, I'm going to use the Shape tool. If I click here on the Custom Shape tool, I can actually select any shape that I have loaded here in my palette. To find additional shapes, I can click on the arrow button and see all of these preloaded shapes. In addition, I can load any CSH files for custom shapes. So I'm going to select the heart, and I'm going to draw a heart shape right here on top of my paper. Doesn't matter what color it's in right now, that color is going to disappear when we run the action. With my shape drawn, I'm going to just press play. I'm going to read the little description here and then press continue. And there we go. In a few seconds, I have a heart-shaped button. If I ran the plain version, of course, I'd get one without that slight texture to it. Now, for our last two actions in the plain and textured versions, we can actually fill this shape up with anything we want to. So I am going to go back to my original paper. And there's my shape. I'm going to delete that shape so we can start fresh. And I'm actually going to get a beveled box here. And I'm going to draw a beveled box. I don't like the radius on that, so I'm going to hit undo. And I'm going to increase that radius to 30 pixels and try again. That's got a little bit more of an edge, but I still don't think it's quite enough. Let's go up to 60 pixels. There we go. Okay, so I have my little beveled box here. And I'm going to double click my background layer, click and drag it up above my shape layer, and I'm going to clip it to it by holding down the Option key and hovering my mouse in between the two layers. Do you see that icon change? When that icon changes, I'm going to click. Now I've clipped my paper right to that shape layer. The next thing I'm going to do is fill the shape layer up. And I've picked out a few elements from the Impressions of Comfort at Home collaborative kit at Scrapbook Graphics. And I'm just going to drag them into my paper here. And I'm going to decorate my little button. Here's a great little flower by Lori. And that graffiti was by Tangi. I'm going to get a little bit of word art here. Drag that in as well. And I'm going to resize that just a little bit. Place it right here in my box. And I think I'm going to take that graffiti and I'm going to play around with the color mode and opacity a little bit, just so I can see my title a little bit better. And I'm going to change the color of that by locking down the transparency and pressing Alt or Option Delete. And now I have some red text here. Let me get my button. I'm going to put that right there. Alright, so there's my little button. With any layer selected, it doesn't matter which one, I'm going to go ahead and select the plain action, press play, and read my little message and press continue. And the action will go on and turn that entire set of little graphics there into a filled button. That's all there is to it. That is the Button Maker by Studio Wendy, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you'll join me again for another Learn It tutorial by Studio Wendy at Scrapbook Graphics. Thanks for watching.